Okay. So can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. Good evening to both of you, sir. My name is Jigyasu Agarwal. I belong to Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh. I've completed my Masters of Science and Technology in Applied Geology from Indian School of Mines, Dhanbad. Presently, I'm working as a hydrogeologist, sir, in particularly in role of groundwater exploration, and I have interest in wildlife-related issues as well as watching tennis.
All right, very good, right? So like we have a geologist, right, whose prime aim is exploration, right? Whether it is exploration of mineral or groundwater, and
Yes, sir.
you also want to be an IFS officer. So
Yes,
in exploration, there is a lot of environment degradation also, right? In
yes,
mining
sir.
and in exploration, and
Yes, sir.
as a forest officer, our mandate is to avoid environment degradation, right? So
Yes,
how
sir.
will you solve this conundrum?
Yes, sir. Sir, I agree that there are concerns with respect to exploration as well as mining when it comes to environment. But then there are certain mechanisms that we can utilize. First is, sir, environmental impact assessments of the prospecting as well as the mining activities that we are going to do. Secondly, we can formulate mitigation plans accordingly. And third is, sir, compensatory afforestation. Fourth, sir, is that we have to do regular monitoring of the impacts that are going on the various aspects of environment and then take remediation measures.
All right. So, yeah, so I can see that you have been preparing for quite long, right?
Yes,
So,
sir.
like, what has been your motivation, right? What is your motivation to join Indian Forest Services?
Uh, Sir, the major motivation that I feel was that the Indian Forest Services as well as civil services as a whole will provide me a scale at which I'll be able to impact different. My solutions will have a scale on the problems that we as a country face. And secondly, sir, that I'm looking for a job that provides me respect as well as stability.
All right, all right. So, Jigyasu, like you have worked on Gangotri Glacier, right? You have
Yes,
studied
sir.
mass balance of Gangotri Glacier. So, like, what was the data which you could gather?
Mhm. Sir, the major findings that we got out was that the Gangotri Glacier is melting at a fast rate, and that rate is accelerating, and the overall mass balance is negative. So presently, almost Gangotri Glacier is losing mass at the rate of 0.066 gigaton per year. So that was the major finding, sir.
So this 0.6 is gigaton per year. Like, can you give how much it has retreated? Generally, we talk in terms of how much the snout has gone back. So, is there any
Yes, sir.
data for Gangotri?
Yes, sir. Sir, as far as I remember, there some recent findings have found out that from 1935, this Gangotri Glacier is receded by almost 1.5 kilometers. The snout position, sir.
All right, all right. So, only from 1935 to 2020, right? Something like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So, just verify this ones, right? From more reliable source. So, like in this context of glaciers, the melting of glacier, have you heard about the concept of uh, feedback mechanism in ecology?
Yes, sir.
So, like, can you define what is a feedback mechanism in ecology?
Yes, sir. So feedback mechanism relates to the impact that a particular incident or particular phenomena is having on the overall cycle. So if I may exemplify, sir, with respect to melting of glaciers, glaciers provide albedo effect, which reduces the overall global warming or the rise in temperatures. But when glaciers melt, the albedo effect reduces, and this results into rise in more temperatures and hence enhances the melting rate of the glacier. So it is a positive feedback loop in that sense, sir.
All right. So can you think of few more positive feedback loop in when glacier is melting apart from this albedo feedback?
So may I take a moment, please, to think about this?
Yes, please.
Sir, with respect to glaciers, I'm sorry, I'm not able to presently think about a positive feedback loop. But then another is with respect to the deforestation, such as of the Amazon rainforest. So when deforestation takes
Oh,
place,
all
uh,
right. All right. So I'll give you hint, right? I will
yes,
give you two words. One is permafrost. Another
Yes, sir.
feedback mechanism you can think is water vapor. So can you think of from water vapor perspective?
Yes, sir.
What
Yes, sir.
could be the, yes? Please
Sir,
elaborate. Yes.
yes, sir. Sir, so water is locked in form of ice in glaciers, but when it melts, it overall increases the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere, which is a greenhouse gas in itself. Thus, it forms a positive feedback loop. And secondly, sir, the same is with respect to permafrost, because in permafrost there is a lot of carbon dioxide that is and methane that is trapped underneath the permafrost. So when it melts, the amount of greenhouse gases again increases.
All right. So like all these three which we discussed, they are all positive feedback, right? So
Yes,
this
sir.
is very dangerous thing, a manifestation of climate change.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. So Jigyasu, can you tell me? Okay, my last question regarding glacier is there any SDG for controlling glacier retreat, Sustainable Development Goals by United Nations?
Sir, I'm sorry, I do not remember exactly the SDG which is related to cryosphere. I'll look more into this, sir.
All right. All right. SDG 13, I think, is related to climate action, right? So that could be one. All right. So you also have a hobby of reading about issues in wildlife, right? For
Yes,
Indian wildlife. So, like,
yes,
can
sir.
you briefly tell me what are the issues in forest management and wildlife in India? Right? Do you think our forests are being managed well, or do you find various fault?
Yes, sir. So, firstly, the some of the major issues that Indian wildlife is facing are habitat fragmentation and then deforestation, then poaching, and then destruction of ecological corridors as one. And lastly, sir, increasing plastic pollution and increasing invasive species. These are some of the major issues with respect to Indian wildlife. So, with respect to management of Indian forest, I believe that there have been many positives in terms of increasing of wildlife, number of different animals species that we have. We have done very well in Project Tiger as well as Project Vulture, Project Rhino. But sir, at the same time, there are certain issues as well. One is that although the number of species, the protection is increasing inside the protected areas, but outside the protected areas the management has not been very good. And second issue is that of human wildlife conflict that is increasing every day. We are witnessing the same in Waynard and in different areas with respect to elephants and other carnivorous species as well. So these are some challenges, sir.
All right. So, like you mentioned about protected areas. So, do you remember what is the percentage of India's geography is its protected area?
Sir, it is about 5% of our overall geographical area.
All right, it is less than 5%. Yes, but it is a good guess, right? All right. So, again, like you have been working as a hydrogeologist, right? So,
So
like, what exactly you are doing?
sir, my role is in the exploration of groundwater. So I correlate the resistivity data with the lithological profile that is available, and then ultimately we find out the depth of the groundwater. We are doing this for Amrut mission and Jal Jeevan mission, sir.
Okay. So, like, what is the average depth in which we get good volume of groundwater in Bhopal area?
Sir, although I'm not particularly aware about Bhopal, but sir, presently what we find good reservoir in the unconfined zone. So that is not at much depth. Around 15 meter we find good water. But then in hard rock area we need to access the confined aquifer. So that's depth may vary.
All right. So, is there any difference in this depth in the Bhopal area and in the your birthplace area, that is Jabalpur area? Is there any difference, and what could be the reason for that?
Sir, there is a difference. So Jabalpur lies in Narmada Valley. So the Narmada alluvium is a good aquifer. So the depth of groundwater here is much lesser in comparison to Bhopal. Bhopal has a more hard rock terrain of Vindhyan age.
Right.
So we need to go to more depths.
All right, right. So thank you, Jigyasu. Over to Satwik sir.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Jigyasu.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. What is the meaning of your name?
Sir, it means curious, someone who is eager to know more.
Are you curious?
I believe to an extent I am, sir. I like to know more about things, the why and how of things rather than just the what of things.
Tell me something which you got to know recently, which you think is very interesting.
Sir, I have been visiting various national parks, and recently I learned to identify the different alarm calls of animals. And another thing that I was able to identify was some pug marks of different animals. So these were two new things that I learned about wildlife recently.
Okay, but it seems that you have interest of wildlife enthusiast, interest in issues related to Indian wildlife. So it seems that you just visited or observed these things recently.
Sir, I had observed this earlier. Recently, I started recognizing and I also started imitating some of the calls. So, for example, sir, if I
Yes,
may exemplify, sir,
yes.
so recently I identified that the alarm call of langurs is different for a tiger and it is different from for a leopard. So, this was some new phenomena that I was able to learn, sir.
Yes, good. And how do you identify the pug marks?
Uh, sir,
Like,
yeah.
yes, yes.
Sir, so the pug marks of species are different. So we can identify the kind of species as well as whether it's a male or a female. So if I may exemplify, sir, with respect to tigers, the pug mark of a male tiger is more rounded and larger in comparison to that of a female tigress, And sir, then the animals which are of feline nature, canid nature, that is more like dogs. So, sir, their pug marks have the marks of their nails or fangs, their nails or claws in front of their toes. That is different from the animals of cat species. So, that is something that I recognized recently.
Good. So you have studied in ISM Dhanbad, right?
So,
So why is it famous? Tell us something about IIT Dhanbad.
sir, it was one of the earliest established schools with respect to mining and earth sciences in our country. And as well as in the globe after the Royal College of London, it was, I believe, the second or the third specific institute established overall in the globe. And then, sir, it specializes in these areas. So, yes, sir, that is what I can tell you about Indian School of Mines.
Do you remember any alumni who has made name from IIT
Uh,
Dhanbad?
so may I take a moment, sir, please?
Yeah, sure.
So two alumni I can specifically remember presently. One is Mr. DC Panigari, who is acclaimed in terms of planning of various mines and solving various issues such as mine ventilation system that he has provided. And then, sir, second is, I do not remember the exact name, sir. The movie was recently made, Mission Raniganj. A revered alumni of our college was involved in rescuing various workers who were trapped underneath in
The
a
main
mine.
character is from ISM Dhanbad, Akshay Kumar character.
Yes, sir. He's an alumni of our college, sir.
Wonderful. So while you were in IIT, have you come across any wildlife in the campus?
Sir, firstly, I came across some bird species, and second, some reptiles. Snakes were one of the species that were frequently observed in our college.
Okay. So are you aware of this green credit scheme of Government of India?
Uh, yes, sir. To a certain extent, I am, sir. It is with respect. It is a market mechanism with respect to trading of carbon credits that the government recently launched at the COP28.
Jigyasu, tell me as a layman person, I don't know anything about it. What is it?
Sir, carbon credits are part of cap and trade mechanism. So industries are given certain targets with respect to their emissions, and then the industries which perform better in respect to limiting their carbon emissions, they get certain credits. So these credits can be traded and it can be provided to other industries or other companies which are not able to reach their emission targets. So that is what this carbon credit mechanism is about, sir.
Okay. you have written that you like to watch tennis.
Yes, sir.
How is this? Tell me, how is this is an interest? Like, you can watch anything.
Yes, sir. Uh, so
If you are not
tennis.
doing something,
Yeah.
if you are not doing something, then
Yes,
you are
sir.
not experiencing it.
Yes, sir.
Those who watch cricket, they also sometimes we like play gully cricket or something. How
Yes,
is
sir.
watching tennis is an hobby? Is a hobby.
Sir, watching tennis involves actively analyzing the performance and the strategies and the tactics that are involved in the game, firstly. And it also involves understanding the character of the player. And that helps me provide inspiration in various walks of life. Apart from this, sir, I have tried my hand at playing tennis, but since its infrastructure is not available regularly, so I have not been able to play it regularly.
Okay. Okay. So how many tiger reserves are there in India, Jigyasu?
Sir, Sir, the last I remember is that we have 54 tiger reserves. 55 tiger reserves, sir. I'm sorry, 55 tiger reserves.
Jigyasu, the last you remember doesn't matter.
Yes, sir.
What I'm
Yes.
asking is the number.
I'm sorry, sir. It is 55 tiger reserves presently.
Okay. And are you do you know the that we have cheetah relocation project happening in MP?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So could you differentiate between Asiatic cheetah and African cheetah?
Yes, sir. So may I take a moment, please?
Yeah, sure.
Sir, there are three or four morphological differences which I can remember at the moment. First is that the Asiatic cheetah is smaller in comparison to the African cheetah, and secondly, it is more slender built. And third, sir, is a difference is with respect to the markings, the spots that the cheetah has. So the African cheetah has spots on its face, while the Asiatic cheetah has lesser spots on its face. And fourth is, sir, some fur that is found on the Asiatic cheetah above its neck that is not found in the African cheetah. Sir, this is what I remember.
Are you sure, Jigyasu, whatever you told me, that you have told me correctly, that you have not jumbled them up?
Sir, sir, in my knowledge, this is the difference, but I will look more into it to verify whether I have been all correct.
Okay. So there is a report recently, it was published regarding one nation, one election.
Yes, sir.
What are your views on it?
Sir, there are definitely merits in one nation, one election, particularly with respect to that it will bring more efficiency in terms of the political system in our country and overall gains in economic growth as well. But sir, at the same time, there are certain issues that have been pointed out. First is that it may result into some federal tensions because the voters may mix up the national issues with the federal issues. And second, that elections are a part of political accountability. So that may reduce if elections are not held periodically. Sir, overall, I believe that, sir, with respect to one nation, one election, but we need to have a consensus between different parties. And once there is a consensus across the table, then we can bring it.
So you have not read the report, right?
Uh, Sir, I read some of the merits, but I do not remember it particularly. I'm sorry.
What do you understand by this term, one nation, one election? What kind of elections are we talking about here?
Sir, we are talking about single elections at the for the Lok Sabha as well as for the state legislative assemblies as well as for the local bodies. So that is what is meant by one nation, one election.
Good. So you didn't tell me your opinion.
Sir,
Yes, tell me.
Sir, I think that the idea has merit and it can be implemented, but sir, only after a consensus has been reached And sir, secondly, we may have one nation, one election with respect to the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assembly, but it may not be feasible for all the local bodies at the same time. That is what I feel. So
Recently, Uttarakhand passed a bill, UCC.
yes, sir.
Are you aware of it?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Sir, it is a unified code for civil laws for the various communities that live in Uttarakhand. Firstly, so the civil laws apply to various domains such as marriage, divorce, inheritance. Sir, that is what UCC is.
Okay. Thank you, Jigyasu. Over to you, Rajnish, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Satwik. Jigyasu, you are from Jabalpur.
Yes, sir.
So tell me, the kind of wildlife present nearby your city, Jabalpur, and what are their, conservation issues are.
Sir, the major wildlife that is present in terms of mammals, we have the leopard, cheetal, and langurs. Then with reptiles, we have mugger crocodile. And then, sir, there is various avifauna that is there. I have seen peacocks, parakeets, sparrows. So these are the major species that I remember presently. And sir, the major conservation issues that we are facing firstly is habitat degradation and fragmentation. Because the city is expanding and construction is being taking place in various habitats of wildlife. Sir, this is resulting into man-animal conflict, particularly in the Khamaria area and the Rampur area in my city.
And only this much?
Sir, this is the issue that I remember presently. I'll look more into this, sir.
Okay, I'll give you a clue. Jabalpur is also famous for Narmada River, and also a lot of aquatic, beyond Magar also, you have aquatic fauna over there.
Yes,
So
sir.
can you recall some of the issues which the aquatic fauna facing, as of now?
Sir, two issues that I can remember presently. First is with respect to the ecological flow in the Narmada river because of the Bargi Dam that is situated nearby Jabalpur. So the ecological flow reduces in summer. And sir, second is the pollution of the riverine water of Narmada river, which is a major issue. Third, sir, is also an issue that is being seen in with respect to tourism near the Bhedaghat area. There are issues raised that it has resulted into change in habitat by the mugger crocodile in that area. This is what I remember, sir.
Okay. So
Sir,
poaching is
may I?
also one of the major issue with, turtles present in the aquatic ecosystem, because there are lot many fishermen are around,
Yes, sir.
and so this is also a major issue. So you were also, speaking about your recent discoveries about or the your knowledge enhancement about the various pug marks of the wild animal, and you
Sir.
were using the terms canids and felids. So,
Yes,
but
sir.
my question is very simple: how to distinguish between pug mark of a leopard and a tiger?
Sir, a tiger's pug mark will be larger than a leopard's pug mark.
Okay,
So
yeah,
that
true. But how about a tiger cub's pug mark and a leopard pug mark?
sir, I'm sorry, I do not know this.
So, what are the national park you recently visited?
Sir, I have visited Bandhavgarh National Park and Panna National Park recently.
Okay, so what are your observation about these two places? What kind of fauna you have in Bandhavgarh and what kind of fauna you have in Panna? And also, is there any significant difference in flora of these two places?
Yes, sir. Sir, the major species that I was able to observe in these national parks were with respect to carnivora, the tiger, the leopard, the sloth bear, and then I also observed the hyena in Bandhavgarh. And sir, second, with respect to the herbivores, uh, gores, cheetal, and sambar deer, I was able to observe. Sir, although I did not observe any gores in Panna National Park, and another species that I was able to observe in Panna National Park was the Ghadial crocodile, which was not found in Bandhavgarh. Sir, with respect to difference in flora, sir, Bandhavgarh was majorly dominated by sal trees, but in Panna, the major tree species was the teak. So that was the difference, sir.
Okay, good observation. So, you must be aware that there is a sanctuary situated within the premises of kind of Panna Tiger Reserve or next to the Panna National Park for the conservation of Ghadial.
Yes, sir.
What's
Sir,
the
it,
name?
sir, it is the Kane Ghadial Sanctuary near the Rane Falls.
Okay, good. So, is there any other sanctuary dedicated for Ghadial conservation?
Yes, sir. Sir, the Chambal, it is in the Chambal. I'm sorry, I do not remember the exact name, but it is in the Chambal River, sir.
Okay, and one more is there.
I'm sorry, sir, I do not know it.
No issues. In Madhya Pradesh, three sanctuaries been declared for the Ghadial conservation. So, National Chambal Sanctuary is one, which is kind of between three states, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Madhya Pradesh, in
Sir,
the Chambal River. And there is a Son Ghadial Abhyaran, which is in Sindh district. And obviously, third one you mentioned is Kane, in Panna. You also mentioned Project Vulture when you were mentioning about the success of, various wildlife. So, what is
yes.
that Project Vulture is?
Sir, it is with respect to conservation of different vulture species. So, an action plan was recently formulated in the year 2020 with respect to the declining vulture population in our country. So,
Mhm.
various national parks have formulated their vulture conservation project with different names such as Jatayu breeding centers. So, that is what I know about it, sir.
Okay. Also, you mentioned that the wildlife is doing very good in the PAs, but outside PA they are going through a tough phase. So, what
Yes.
exactly you mean, and which species you are referring to, or set of species you are referring to?
Sir, outside the protected areas, the major issues that the wildlife is facing first is with respect to the man-animal conflict that is happening, and second is with respect to destruction of various ecological corridors, which form a major connecting route and migratory pathways for these species. Sir, I'm sorry, sir. Can you please repeat the second part of the question?
My question is not this. My question is, when you stated that the wildlife is doing good in the PA, but not outside the PA, so which species or set of species you are referring to?
Yes, sir. Sir, in terms of carnivora, the major species that are facing threat outside the protected area is the leopard, the tiger, because the recent tiger report found out that there are more tigers living outside the protected areas. And then, sir, there is the elephant that is facing an issue. And then, sir, there are issues with respect to other species such as the Great Indian Bustard, and then the Indian wolves. So these are the species that are facing major challenges.
So, but don't you think if you yourself saying that there are more tigers outside the protected area than inside the protected area, so
Yes,
they
sir.
must be getting good, protection and conservation measure. That's why they are flourishing there.
Sir, the carrying capacity of our national parks and protected areas is limited, and the number of tigers have exceeded, and that is why they are migrating outside these protected areas to find their regions. The numbers are increasing. The numbers themselves do not signify that their protection measures or their conservation there is happening in a good manner, because we are regularly witnessing various.
Sorry, I lost you, I guess.
See, I think even we lost him. Right, his screen has frozen. Jigyasu, you can leave and join back.
अरे जब उसको सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है तो कैसे उसको फोन करो?
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes. You
Yeah.
can continue.
I'm sorry, I think I lost connection. Yes, sir. Sir, so outside the protected areas, with respect to tiger, as we were talking about, sir, that their numbers are increasing, but we are seeing that the numbers themselves do not reflect that their conservation measures are they are progressing at a decent rate, because there are issues such as poaching that happens outside the protected areas, and then they regularly come into conflict with various communities that reside outside these protected areas. And second, sir, also with respect to herbivores, the crop raiding issue is there. So that are the issues, sir.
So, okay. So, I mean, what you mean to say is that whatever number outside the protected area, the wildlife, because they are in conflict with the human settlement and human population, the conclusion is that they are not doing well, or the conservation measures are not sufficient.
Sir, yes, sir, that is part of the conclusion, and that is why I believe that we need to enhance protection measures outside the protected areas as well. So, for
So,
example,
more protection,
yes,
then more number increase and more conflict. So, do you think that protection alone will solve the problem?
sir, along with protection, we need to take some additional measures, such as creating awareness amongst the community with respect to wildlife. And also, sir, that the population of various species is skewed in our country. So, for example, with respect to tiger, the number of population is very less in the eastern part of the country, particularly in states of Jharkhand, Bihar, Odisha, and Andhra Pradesh, because the ecological corridors there have been destroyed, or fragmentation has occurred. So, along with protection, we need to take care of these issues as well, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So, man, this much from my side. Yeah. All the best, Jigyasu.
Satwik
Thank you,
sir,
sir.
you want to ask something else? All right. So, like my last question on the continued theme is that, like, there has been talks of private investment in forest management and wildlife conservation. So, Jigyasu, what is your take on it?
Sir, the issue is two sides. First is that we do need investment, more investment in overall wildlife conservation. But with private investment also comes the profit motive. So, with respect to that, we need overarching regulations and continuous accountability measures. So, my overall opinion is that it is a welcome step, but then accountability measures need to be implemented so that the overall aim of wildlife conservation takes primacy over profit motives.
So, all right. I think that's all from our side. We can end the session here, Jigyasu. You can leave the call for a few minutes, then I'll text you back for the feedback, right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.